Waiting for more guys to get on?
No.
Okay. All right, so it's on. Where'd we get up to? We're on the bottom of Kuf Mem Zayin Amud Beis, right? We got to the bottom.
Shaka, we can't see you.
Hold on, I'm trying to.
There we go.
Oh, well, you starting earlier tonight? Oh, very good. I didn't even
What do you
realize.
say?
You're starting before. I didn't know you were starting before 10. I just put it on now. I had no idea.
Oh. Okay, good. So I'm glad we waited.
We were waiting for you.
Okay.
Only
Now
you.
we need to wait. Now we just need to wait for the mid. We need to wait for the Midwest people. Oh, there you go. We just got on.
From Yaakov, Zevi saw from the Siach Yitzchak. He's the Talmud of the Chsav Soifer.
Yeah.
So he said it's for Kiddush Levana. Just after Ma'ariv, wash your face, wash your hands, and wash your face after Kiddush Levana. That's enough of honor.
That's enough just to wash your hands and wash your face.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hear. Very interesting. Okay, ready to roll? Vein machzir nes hashever. That's what we got up to, right? Bottom line, kuf mem zayin amud beis.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so vein machzir nes hashever, right? So you're not allowed to put back a broken bone. Which grada we had a shaila. My niece hit her wrist right before Shabbos, so Lamaisa to put her in an ace bandage. So my brother was asking if that's called machzir nes hashever by putting it in an ace bandage on Shabbos. If that's like putting it back in its spot. I told him don't get too confident in your setting bones abilities on Shabbos. I think it would be perfectly fine to do that. Right? But yeah, that is a shaila that comes up if that's called setting a bone or not. But anyways. Now we're on to Kuf Mem Ches Amud Aleph. Halacha machzir nes hashever. The halacha is that you're allowed to set a broken bone. You're allowed to put it back to where it's supposed to be. Right. So now, 1 second. Our Mishna said ein machzirin. Yeah. So clearly, he had a different gear. So Rashi says that Svira Leila Shmuel machzirin Tanan wasn't ein machzirin. It was machzirin. Now, I don't know if that Shmuel had his own girsa or he just said it doesn't make sense and Mamela it has to be ein. I'm not sure how that works. Okay, Rav Arachana ikla la pumpadisa. Rav Arachana traveled to Pumpadisa. Loi all la pirka de Rav Yehuda. He did not go up to the speech, to Rav Yehuda's speech. So Shadre la Ada Daila, Rav Yehuda sent Ada Daila and Amalei Zil Garbe, go grab his clothing. I wonder if that's where the word grab comes from. Garbe, grab. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe that's right. He said, "Go grab his shirt," right? Meaning, hold on to his shirt so that he's going to be forced to come. That's basically what he told him. Azul Garbi, so he went and he grabbed onto it. Also, Ashkechei the Kadarish, and he came and he found him. So that meaning, Rabbi Barachana then found Rabbi Yehuda darshaning, and he said, "Ein machzirin as a shever. You're not allowed to put back a broken bone." Amalei Hachi Amar Rav Chana Amar Shmuel Halacha machzirin as a shever. So he piped up during the speech and he said, no, it's that you are allowed to put it back. This is our Chana, and this is our Shmuel, meaning two different opinions. And I never heard it. Was I not right? Wasn't that the right din for me to grab onto you and make you come? Now that you came to the speech, so now Rashi says we would not have known this fact that there are many that disagree with this Mishna and say that it says you are allowed to put back the broken bone. Right, so that's why it was a good thing that he forced him to come to the share. Yeah, Misha Nifrika Yodeh, let's say somebody's hand gets dislocated, right? That's what we said, Nifrika is different than Sheva, dislocated. So Rav Avi have a Yosef Kameder of Yosef, Shani La Yodeh. So he was sitting in front of Rav Yosef and his hand got dislocated. Amalei Hachi Mai, can I push it this way? Also, So he said it's also. Can I push it this way? Amalei also. He said also. While he was moving it all around, showing him all these things, his hand popped back into place. Amalei mighty boilach. What was your question? Right? What meaning? Why would you think any sort of thing is mutter? Hatnan didn't say in the Mishna. If somebody's hand gets dislocated, you're not allowed to put it into cold water and move it around to get it into place. But you are allowed to take you're allowed to wash your hands. And if it happens to get healed, it happens to get healed. So what were you thinking, even asking if you're allowed to do it? Amalei, so he told him back, did you not learn ein machzir neseshever? Did you not learn that it says in the Mishnah says not to put it back? So you see that there are people that disagree with Mishnahs. Just because it says in the Mishnah doesn't mean that that's the way we paskin. Right? Are all the Mishnahs machzor, Rashi says, means to be sewn together, woven together. Right? Meaning are all Mishnahs the same way. Where it says it, it says it. Where it didn't say it, it didn't say it. So since it didn't say anything in the Mishnah, so Mamela, why should you think that it's different? Which I don't understand that, because what do you mean? The Mishnah when it says broken says you're not allowed to fix it. Then we have a girsa that says fix it. How does he supposed to know? Maybe we have the same issue in the end of the Mishnah. I don't know why he's telling him that no, if you have a way to learn the Mishnah that it's mutter, then fine. But if you don't have it, then you don't. So in the other case, we also didn't have a way to do it. All right.
So in effect, what Rav Avia did was usher.
What, to show him
by showing him the different forms, it put it back in place.
I don't know.
To do that.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing it with. I don't know. You're saying by him showing it, maybe that was going to get it. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's a possibility that if I show you how the different types, the different, and then it pops it back in place, you're not allowed to pop it back in place.
Right. No, I hear. I mean, was it wrong for him to do that? I don't know. I never thought about that. I don't know. What does the Olam say? What do you think? Was it wrong for him to do that? I'm not sure. I don't know. The Gemara doesn't seem to say that he did. He was asking. Oh, well, right. But Lamaisa, he was. I mean, the Gemara asked, "Why were you asking?" So I understood it that why. What was your question? There shouldn't even be a question. But you're right. Maybe he's asking why are you even showing it. I'm not sure. I hear. That's a good question. Okay. Hadron Allah Chavis. Fine. Now we start the next Perek. The Chavis actually had a lot of halacha l'mais in it. This Perek also does, not necessarily having so much to do with Hilchos Shabbos, but it has a lot of halacha that's in it. So a person is allowed to borrow from his friend a jug of wine and a jug of oil, as long as he doesn't say lend it to me, meaning he could borrow and not lend. Now the question is going to be, what's the difference between borrowing and lending? Shoyl and halva, right? So Mishna is saying you're allowed to do sha'ela, borrowing, but you're not allowed to do halveni, which is also borrowing, right? So it depends how you do it. V'chein ha'isha mechavet the kikra is the same thing. A woman from her friend loaves of bread, but let's say the friend doesn't trust you. So maniach talisa etza, what you do is you leave your talis there. And then you make a cheshbon after Shabbos, meaning how much you have to pay back.
Parrot, you just leave your talis and take a bottle of livid from the guy, and that's it. You go home.
Right, it would depend on how much your talis is worth. Correct. Yeah. Now, why are you borrowing from a guy who doesn't trust you already? I don't know, but yeah. So v'chein erev Pesach b'Yerushalayim shechal yis b'Shabbos. Erev Pesach that falls on Shabbos. Niach talisa etzloi. You leave the talis by the guy that you're going to buy the animal from. But not talis pisvay, and then you take your korban Pesach. And after Yom Tov, you make cheshbonis. Exactly how it goes, right? So I think the practical application, what is it? Somebody actually asked this to me on Friday, is when you're in a hotel for Shabbos, can you charge things to the bar? right? Well, when you have a bar there or something, can you charge it? What are you saying, Ar?
That's a good kasha.
Yeah.
You
So
allowed to
the
do that?
answer is you can.
Jack,
Why not?
am I allowed to walk to the pharmacy and tell them I'll come back and pay after Shabbos?
Well, we'll see from the sugya, but the pasha says you can. Why not?
So what about all the
Why-
guys in Shur Yashiv that used to walk to Dowdy Deli and get cigarettes on Yom Tov, and then they'd go afterwards and pay?
As long as the guy trusts you, I don't see what the problem should be. Where the Mishnah is even saying that not only, even if the guy doesn't trust you, you can leave him. What do you call it? A mashkin. Leave him your shirt. Leave him something, and take your cigarettes. So it's the Maisa we pass him that it's fine. Even if they decide to write it down, they're a guy. They're writing it down on their own thing, right? I think that was one of the issues with the hechsher. Not that we want to get into that, is that the VAD does not allow restaurants to be open Friday night.
Right.
And I think I heard, I don't know who told this to me, this new hechsher is going to allow it. Right?
Okay, they allow that. It's Yaakov. You could do that in Florida, a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot of places do it, but our VAD decided they're not allowing it.
Because they don't
Or
want people on
Rabbanim.
Central Avenue on Shabbos.
I don't know what the pshat is.
You mean
I'm
for
not
Jews to
involved.
go in and eat there Friday night?
Correct.
So you just pay
Florida
ahead
do
of
it all the
time.
time. In Manhattan also. Manhattan, they do it. Either you pay ahead or you pay later, whatever
I
it is.
heard about places in Queens. It sounds weird.
How about Yom Kippur night? Can you do it?
On Yom Kippur night. Yeah, why not?
Why
You're
isn't
ready.
it Marasayan?
What should be Marasayan?
A Jew walking into a restaurant on Shabbos?
I'm saying you know that they're going to pay
But
later.
most people
whatever it is.
don't know about this. I heard about this for the first time like 2 months ago.
I hear.
They're doing it in Florida forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
saying-
no one cares about Florida. They're all going to die from COVID anyway.
Jesse,
It's weird.
Jesse, my wife's uncle had a restaurant there for many years, the Royal Hungarian. He has shilas for Moshe and Igris Moshe on how to do it, but he did it. He was able to do it.
It just seems like it would be a weird Marasayan thing.
It could be. The Marasayan was yesterday's daf, though, so we're past that. Fine. Okay, no, listen, but it's based on this Mishnah, that's for sure. But in this Mishnah, it sounds like you can go borrowing things. Okay, we'll see in the Gemara number base a little bit more. So Amalei Zak the Gemara. Amalei Rabbi Baruchana Labai. Mishna Hishilani, Mishna Helvani. What's the difference if you're saying lending or lending, meaning borrowing? They're both types of borrowings. Normally, Hishilani lo yasi lemichtav. When you borrow something from the word she'ela, borrowing, you're not going to come write it down. It's like something that you just, you lend without any major paperwork. Halveini yasi lemichtav. If you're going to lend, that you might come to, that's normally a halva. You write it down, so then you might end up coming to write it down on Shabbos.
Is this where the word loan comes from?
Where what?
Loan.
Loan. Ah, very good. I never thought about that. Maybe taka. Maybe that's where the word loan comes from. Yeah. Okay, so then the Gemara says, right? He's saying, but on the weekday, right? If you're gonna say lend it to me, and instead he says hishilani, which is without writing, right? Halvani is with writing, and he says instead of saying lend me, he says lend me with the one that doesn't normally write down, but like company love it, and he doesn't care. So you may come write it down. Shabbos nami meaning we're saying, how do you know that they're not going to get confused between the terminologies, the proper terminologies, and the guy may end up writing on Shabbos. Amalei, Shabbos, given the Shilani, who the Sharilei, who the Shari the Rabbanan, Havani lo Sharilei, Minkar Milsa, Velay Asila Miftav. Now, since we know that on Shabbos, using the term lending is allowed, and using the word halva, using the word shayla is allowed, using the word halva is not allowed, so therefore it's recognizable. Everybody knows that one term is okay, one term is not okay. Therefore, they're not going to end up coming to write down because they know the reason why one is not okay is because that one you usually use to write. So then we were not afraid you're going to come to write it down. Now this is a parenthetical thing. Michti, Amar Rabbanon, call me with the Yom Tiv, kama de efshel l'shnuyim mashninon. So, and we said with Yom Tiv, even though on Yom Tiv we allow you to do melacha, to do food prep, right? But we say, well, whatever amount of change you can do to do it differently than you would do during the week, we want you to do, right? So Hani Nashi Demalin Chatzvayu Maya. These women who fill up their buckets with water. My time at Mashninon, why don't they change? Why don't they do it differently? So the answer is Mishun Delay Afsher. How can they do it differently? Hechi Levet, how should they do it? The Mayim B'chatzer Rabba, Limlim B'chatzer Zuta, somebody who picks it up normally, who draws the water with a large bucket, should do it with a small bucket? Hakam Afsher Be'ilucha. Then she's going to end up walking a lot more, which is not covered for Yom Tov to have to do a lot more walking. Right? Because you need a certain amount of water. She normally does it in a bucket that say takes 2 gallons, and then she does it instead in a bucket that's 1 gallon. She's gonna have to make 2 trips. That's not covered Yom Tov. The Mayim B'chatzer Zuta, okay, it doesn't mean the other way around. If a woman normally does it with a small bucket, right? Should do it with a big bucket. She's gonna be carrying a much heavier load. Right? Nifra is sudra. So what are you going to say?
Heavier
put
or
something
bigger?
over the basket? A sudra. What? I
means a
understood it to
heavier
be
load?
heavier. Doesn't
Why would she?
Wouldn't that?
Not necessarily.
No.
Why would she?
Meaning sometimes she has a small bucket, so she makes 3 trips to the well. Now instead of making 3 trips, she's going to make 1 trip, but it's a much heavier. We had this. I think the Gemara say a teku a bunch of blot ago about which way what. No, anybody remember that? We discussed it. We said what's worse on Shabbos, to go from small amount.
Yeah, we discussed it. It's the same energy.
We said it was the same. We gave an answer one way or the other. Or did we say take? I don't remember. I don't remember what we said. But it seems like
it was a
Gemara here
teku, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, I was saying here the Gemara is saying, very good that you remember that. So here we're saying that that both ways is bad. To make more of a trip, more trips is bad, and to do more and to carry more weight, or you're saying whatever, bigger load, they're both bad. Okay, so nifras. So what are you gonna do? Spread
Yaakov,
yeah.
You could say to Maisa here from different Gedolim about they go to Balabatim for Yontif and the guys are washing for Moitzi like they're taking a shower, and the Gadol says you have a Soima who's bringing you your water, and what are you washing like that for? She has to make extra trips to the well. Have some Rahmanis on her.
I hear, I never understood that whole situation in the first place. Well, you have your son working in your house.
You hired somebody. Yeah.
I don't know. That's what also. How come the men were not filling up the water from the well? No. If it was nowadays, who'd be the one filling up the water from the well? The men, not the women. So
the men are in shul.
When he took out the garbage, he come back with the water.
I don't know. That's what I would think. But the women clearly filled up the water too. You're saying the men are in shul. Okay. Anyways, so what else should you do? Nifras sudra. Should you spread out a shmata, like a piece of cloth over it? Then you might end up coming to schita because it's going to fall into the water and then you might squeeze it out. Should you cover it over with a lid, right? Right, a kisa, Rashi says, no, because then the lid might fall off, or you might come to tie it up with a knot. So therefore it's not able to do it with a shina, so therefore you don't do it with a shina. Fine. You can't clap and you can't hit your halalev, Rashi says, on your heart. You don't beat your heart. You can't dance on Yom Tov. We see that they do this, right? Everybody claps and dances on Yom Tov and nobody says anything to them. But the Tamas, the Gemara says, right, we had this a couple of times. The person shouldn't sit on the edge of the erev because perhaps something's going to roll out of his hands and he's going to come to carry it on Shabbos. Right? We see that they're sitting on the women put their buckets down, right? The Moisvi Chatzvi, they put their buckets, and they sit on the edge of the Mavui. We don't tell them anything. Ella, so what it says, Ella Hanach Yisrael, Mutav Shushaygin Valim Zinin, right? One of the famous lines in the Gemara. Better the Klal Yisrael should do it b'shaygin than to do it b'mezid. So then he says, okay, that's only the Rabbanon. then it's better that they should do it b'shay than do it on purpose. But if it's a deraisa, you would have to tell them. It's not true. Yeah, doesn't make a difference whether it's a derabanan or deraisa. You don't tell them if they're not going to listen. You don't tell them. The talis Yom Kippurim deraisa, because adding on to Yom Kippur, right? You're supposed to keep bringing Yom Kippur a couple minutes before the actual shkia. It's a deraisa. We see everybody's eating and drinking until it gets dark. We don't say anything to them. So therefore, we know because of this, not because of this, but we know that the rule is that we always say mutu shushayim val yimazidin. Now, this is in Hilchos Yom Kippur. This is brought down halacha l'maisa, but a couple of things. We come out there that it's only if it's beferish in the. That's only if it's not beferish in the Torah. If it's beferish in the Torah, then you do have to tell them. And the Mishna brings that that's only if they don't know the halacha. But if they know the halacha and b'mezid they're not doing it, then you have to make a macha. But it is only pshat where they're doing it, they don't know the halacha, and they're not going to listen anyways. Okay, so you leave them alone, right? But if they know the halacha and they don't care, then you're mechuyev to make a macha, right? Obviously, assuming that it's not going to make a huge machlokes and all the other parameters that it entails.
What is the macha?
So that's it. The macha is really for yourself. The macha is really for yourself. That you have to do out yourself or you got to attempt it at least, and then that's basically what they say. But again,
I have to tell myself or I should tell him?
What?
I should say it to myself or I should tell the guy?
Pashtus is you should tell the guy, but then, I mean, it depends. If they're not gonna listen and they're gonna make a fight, then you don't tell them. If they may listen, then you have to attempt it. That's really what.
But if he's not gonna listen, if I know he's not gonna listen, I'm over an Israel to fear.
What's the issue?
Not giving teichacha. I mean, giving teichacha is not.
That's why.
It's not a.
That's why you have to give the teichacha. What?
Giving teichacha that's not going to be listened to is not a hekdesh.
Well,
I was told that it's an Israel safe. I know it's not going to be listened to.
Gershon, so do it anyway and don't make a bracha like stuck, okay?
Yeah.
I should be over in Israel safe without making a bracha?
You're not over. You tried. The guy didn't listen. You didn't listen.
No. If I have a suffix whether he's going to listen, then you do it. If I know he's not going to listen, it's also to do.
Well, it's not so poshut that it's also to do. It's only really if it's going to make a fight. You got to look over there on all the Mishna Berurahs and Hilchos Yom Kippur, which I did look at this afternoon, but that was a few hours ago, so I no longer remember. So, yeah. Anyways, but maybe I'll try and look again later. Okay, so Zokt, we have a couple of the junior crew here live. That's normally on.
If the guy's not going to listen to the Rabbanon, you don't say anything? I'm saying...
No, there's no difference in Derais and the Rabbanon here. There's no difference. There's no difference in Derais and the Rabbanon. As far as I remember. Okay, but Lina, maybe I'll look it up later and then and discuss it tomorrow. But okay, bye. Right, so this is now the Gemara gets involved in the ribbis thing. There's something called saw b'saw. As a hakdama to this Gemara, there's something called saw b'saw. So it's a machlokes whether you're allowed to send saw b'saw. Meaning, if my neighbor comes over to me and asks me to borrow a dozen eggs, so I lend them a dozen eggs, and then in the interim by the time Shabbos goes on, and then Sunday they go out to the market to buy the eggs, and the egg prices went up. So now it's ribbis, right? Because they're paying me back more. Right? At least it's a machlokes, but that's lamaisa. We paskin that if it's for your neighbor and somebody who you normally lend things to, some memela, then it's not an issue. It's not an issue.
But
right?
Don't you have to pay them back eggs, not money, or whatever? If your husband is, you can give me free eggs, and I'm going to give you back eggs. What's the chilek if the price went up?
No, because now you're essentially giving them back more money. You're giving them back ribbis.
I'm giving him back what he's chasa.
they're essentially paying you something that you bought. They borrowed $1, and then
if the price goes down, am I stealing from them?
No. It's only the
No.
price goes up. You have a dinner ribbis.
Why does the price go down? I'm not stealing from them.
What should be stealing? You borrowed 3 eggs. You gave them back 3 eggs.
I borrowed an egg's worth $1, and I'm only paying back eggs worth 89 cents.
Yeah, very good, Zev. I like that husband.
And what are you saying? I
I
understand.
borrowed eggs worth $1, and
Right.
I'm paying back eggs worth 89 cents.
No, so
So I took away 11 cents from them.
I don't know if that's how can you say that that's Geneva?
What do you mean? I borrowed $1 to return 89 cents.
But
What
you
does that mean?
borrowed,
Just
though.
'cause
You borrowed the
Zevi, what does
eggs.
that mean?
What do you mean? If I borrowed $1 and I only gave you back 89 cents, forget about an egg. What would you say? You still owe me
No.
money.
No.
What?
Even with
Zevi, it's not
itself,
my
the
fault.
key
You
is
bought
to
eggs
return it.
in a more expensive supermarket.
But they're the same eggs.
So what? Exactly. That's the
That's
point.
why you should be able to work it the other way. It shouldn't make a chiluk. At the end of the day, it's eggs or eggs. If you borrowed 3 eggs, you got to pay back 3 eggs.
Right, but the problem is that you have this isser of ribbis.
No, Shabbat Kesef Kekesef.
Yeah, so what are you saying?
You shop in Far Rockaway in Lawrence. That's where you live. And Aaron Kaplan when he goes away every time he goes to Brooklyn, he goes to Bingo and buys 5 dozen eggs like a smart person. And over here, they're paying 40% more for the eggs.
See, I knew you know what I was talking about. I knew you would get it.
But anyways, one thing is clear. It's not ribbis deraisa. Ribbis deraisa is only if you arrange, you mamish make an agreement from the get-go. You make an arrangement from the get-go that you're paying ribbis. That's not a ribbis deraisa. The shaila is, it's called sabisa, right?
Bottom line is, Zevi, I'm coming next door to borrow some eggs.
Right? Yeah, so anyway, so it's a machlokes tanoim, whether it applies to people, that neighbors lending stuff back and forth to each other, right? Who don't normally care. You know, I lend you, you lend you. What happened, guys? Okay, fine. So anyway, so let's see. So b'Shabbos huda asra b'chol Shabbos. It sounds like only in Shabbos you're not allowed to do it. Out chil Shabbos. What about ribbis? Leima season like a hill. Let's say the Mishna is not like hill. It's not v'chein haya hill loimer. Like silva isha kikor l'chavrata. A woman should not lend a loaf of bread to a friend until they decide how much money it's worth, right? Because maybe the price of wheat is going to go up. And then you're going to come to ribbis. Gemara says, and that's Hill Shita. So Gemara answers, we can even say it's going to the Hill. But Asra, the Kate's Domer. Right? This is talking about in a place that has that a loaf of bread is the same price, right? Meaning, I think that's us, no? No, I don't know. In Eretz Yisrael, maybe it fluctuates. Does it fluctuate in Eretz Yisrael? In America, a loaf of bread is a loaf of bread, whatever it costs. How about the light cakes, man? One is talking about a place where it's not a fixed price, so therefore then you have to worry about it.
What's the Havamina that you shouldn't lend the thing? Isn't there a mitzvah to lend?
There's a mitzvah to lend, yeah, but you cannot, not if it's going to come to an aveira of ribbis. Right?
Okay.
So anyway, so no, I think it would make enough for me. Like in America, Taka, bread would be a good example. There's no ribbis on bread. The bread, the cost of a loaf of bread does not fluctuate on a daily basis. But eggs does, chicken does, right? These type of things do, as far as I know. So then you'd have to know in different things. The halacha l'maisa, we paskin that from a neighbor and somebody who you don't care about, you're allowed to do this. We're not worried about it. But if it would be somebody who's strange, it would be a stranger, then maybe you would have this problem. Fine. And if he doesn't believe, so then what do? You leave your talis. Itmar halvas Yom Tov. Anytime somebody lends something to somebody at Yom Tov, Yosef Amar loy nitna litava, you can't go to court, and loy means you can't have any kindness, meaning court is going to throw it out and say we don't get involved in loans that happened on Yom Tov. Rabba Amar nitna litava. Rabba says that Bezdin will get involved in Yom Tov loans. Rabbi Yosef, you're not going to get involved. We're afraid that if you're going to say that a loan you could bring to court, then we're afraid you're going to write it down on Yom Tov. And so therefore we just say any lending that goes on Yom Tov is out.
Jacob, this is only loans benegay and mumminus?
No, I think anything.
So if I borrow a bottle of
how can you do a mumminus? How can you do a mumminus loan on Yom Tov?
Yom Tov, it's not mumminus. It's schnapps, it's a cake, whatever.
That's what I'm asking. So, okay.
Yeah, you can't have any tinus. Yeah, that's what it's saying. You could have tinus. Right? The classic, like this classic economic issue, right? If you're not gonna allow people to lend things, and people are gonna lose out on Simchas Yom Tov. I'm missing. I need an ingredient. I'm not gonna go to my friend. I'm not gonna have Simchas Yom Tov, right? Which is where the whole point of the heter of heter iska came from, right? That people stopped lending, and the economy was stalling because nobody lent any money because they were afraid of the loans and they weren't going to make any money. So then they allowed a heter iska, which is a workaround in order to enable lending. Okay, so that's a machlokes. So now the Gemara goes through different rayas. We said that if you don't believe the person and you want to borrow something on Yom Tov, so leave your talis there. If you say that any loan on Yom Tov is not, you can't, Bezdin will not deal with it, so that's why you're supposed to leave your talis there. And then you'll make a cheshbon after Shabbos, right? But if you say that you can go take it to court, right? I'm sorry, I might talisa etzloi. Right? I'm sorry, right? Why should you leave his talis there? This is the way you read. Why should you have to leave his talis there? Let him give him the food that he wants. And then let him take it to Bezdin and have tinus. So Amar Loibina Deleikum Bedina Bedina. He says, no, I'm not interested in getting involved. I'm not interested in taking this to Bezdin. It's a very interesting case. So the guy goes to his friend, loaf of bread for Yom Tov. The friend says, so the guy said, well, we can go to Bezdin if you don't trust me. He says, well, I'm not interested in the headache of going to Bezdin. Okay, so then leave the talis. Right? That comes out. That's the case. Right? According to this mandomer, because theoretically they could go to Bezdin. He says, I'm not interested in having to go to Bezdin. I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like the most secure loan over here. So much.
Yeah, the talis is a mashkin. That's what it is?
Yeah, talis is a mashkin. Right? Yes, so the meaning the lender's not interested in the headache. Right?
This Amar, Loibaina Deleikum Bedina Vedaina, is the Malve or Rav Yosef?
I thought it was the loive. Right?
That makes sense.
But
also,
I don't see
it
could be both ways, no?
No, I'm saying it could be the Rava. He asked him, right? According to you, Rava, that there is you could have a din Torah, so why does he need the mashkin? Let him be Tovei and Bezdin. Zok Rava back. I don't want everyone to just go to Bezdin. They should really want to deal with it themselves. So how do you deal with it yourself? Give them mashkin.
Oh, I don't know. It seems like Rashi is saying, "Lo lover lidin, but lo livra dayin or latriachas atzmai." Says, I don't want to have to go pick a dayin and the tircha. From Rashi, it's mashma like the guy is answering him back. I'm not interested in the tircha. Right?
Is there enough community if it's a goy or a yid?
Is it enough community if it's a goy or a yid? L'chayra is more makel if it's a goy, no? But I don't know. L'chayra. But, yeah. Anyway, I understand this because sometimes I'll have a guy come over, like especially with Bachram, and they have these little disagreements that go on in the dorm, and they're saying, I want this, that. Sometimes I'll tell them, how much money are we talking about here? And I'll say like $20, $30. I take out of my pocket, say, here you go. I don't have time. I'd rather just take the money, and I'd rather not deal with this. I don't know if that's exactly the best. I don't know if the Torah wants that, but I can understand when it says, I'm not interested in dealing with this headache. Okay, anyways. So weiter. So I
don't think it meant the Rav.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, I would do the same thing with a loan too. I wouldn't take the guy's talis either. But most of it, yes, Ashaykat is a part of the Chilka B'Rosh Hashanah. Right? I actually had a guy, once I'm talking about how warped my mind is, a guy in the middle of the Suda today. They have an early mincha here at 1:45 and they have a late mincha. So a guy, I guess, knocked on the door and my niece said he's in the middle of the Suda. So the guy says, can you ask him which mincha he's davening at, the early mincha or the later mincha? So my niece comes in and asks me this, and I said, tell him whichever mincha he's davening at, I'm davening at the other one. And she looks at me and she's like, should I actually tell him that? I said, yes. So I guess I warped my niece too. Anyway, so yeah, so Masar and Grada, the guy was waiting for me, and I missed at least one aliyah of laning because of it. But okay, so I wasn't so wrong. Anyway, so Masar of Idi Barabin.
You don't have to feel bad. I also did.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. So anyway, so Masar of Idi Barabin. Ashaycha is a part of the Chilka B'Rosh Hashanah. So if you shech, now basically what went on back then, as a background, is that nobody could afford one animal themselves. So they used to get together with a bunch of chevra, a bunch of guys got together, and they shared an animal, and they shared an animal, and they shechted it for Yom Tov. Now, this is talking about Rosh Hashanah, of the end of Shemitah. As we know, with the prusbul, Shemitah, any loan at the end of Shemitah cancels out. Right. So what happens if one guy lays out the money to buy the cow, right? Then it's depending on when you split up the cow, maybe the whole loan gets bottled by the end of Shemitah. Right? So that's what it says. Ashaychet as a part of a Chilka B'Rosh Hashanah. They shech the part and they split it up on Rosh Hashanah. Right? Gershon, this is another case that no longer applies because we don't have this anymore. When nowadays Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Aleph. It's the only Rosh Chodesh like that. Normally, when you have 2 days Rosh Chodesh, the first day Rosh Chodesh is Lamed, right, the 30th day of the last month, and the next second day Rosh Chodesh is Aleph. Nowadays, by Rosh Hashanah, the Rosh Hashanah is Aleph, and the second day is Beis. But in the old days, when they had 2 days Rosh Hashanah, the first day was the 30th day, right, and the second day was the first. So that's going to depend here. If it was a leap month, meaning it had 30 days in it, Meshamet, so then the loan is Meshamet. Nobody has to pay him back anything because it was meant for Rosh Hashanah. The loan happened on the first day, and then it's really being given out later. So then Mamela, they lose out. But if it's not, then it's not Meshamet. Yes, Shemitah is not going to cancel. And if we're saying that it's not going to be, you can't bring it to Bezdin, my Meshamet. What do you mean Meshamet? Either way, nobody's going to pay it back because you're not allowed to. It's not enforceable in Bezdin, which I don't get exactly. Just because it's not enforced in Bezdin doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay the guy back, right? I mean, you borrowed something from the guy, right? You know what I'm saying? It seems like it's saying that if it can't go to Bezdin, so then you don't have to pay it back. That's not true, right? So you do have to pay it back. It's just not enforceable. Okay, but that's what the Gemara says.
He doesn't legally have to pay him back.
No, you're right. That's what it is. Legally, he does. It's just not enforceable if they have some sort of disagreement. Let's say the meat was bad. He said, I didn't care. Or he's not happy with his portion of the animal that he got. So then it goes to Bezdin. Okay, I'm not sure. But maybe I hear what you're saying. Anyways, the Gemara answers, Shani Hasim Dig Loi Milsa Decholhu. No, there is different because it's revealed that since we know that there's no 2 days Rosh Hashanah, really, it's really only 1 day. So it comes out that it was really a weekday, right? And meaning it was weekday and it was not Rosh Hashanah yet. So therefore, the loan, then it would have to pay it back, right? No, I'm sorry, we'd have to pay it back because it's admissible in court because the loan was during the week. The loan wasn't on Yom Tov. Fine. Tashimam we say. First time we say from the end of the Mishnah, and from the end of that case, in Lav. But if not, right? If it was not full, then Eina Meshamet, then Shemitah is not Meshamet. Because when did it happen? The loan didn't happen to the first day of Rosh Hashanah, which was Aleph. So if you say that you can go tain on it in court, that's what it says, that it doesn't get canceled. But if you say that you can't collect from it in court, why doesn't Shemitah make it be canceled out? Yeah. So the more answers, so we're saying because if he gives him money, the Yavle, if he gives it shakil, he's allowed to take it. Meaning, just because it cancels it out doesn't mean he's not allowed to pay it back, right? So therefore, that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying with Benegayat Yom. The Gemara says Machlal, the ratio. If that's the case, then the ratio, Yavle loy shakil. If he gives it to him, he's not allowed to take it. Meaning when it's 2 days Rosh Hashanah and it was weekday. So the Gemara says no. Ratio tzarich l'meimer le'mishabanani. In the ratio, he has to tell him it's Shemitah got rid of it. He has to tell him that. Seifa loy tzarich l'meimer le'mishabanani. But Seifa doesn't have to say that because really Shemitah did not cancel it. Meaning in the first case, it's when Shemitah actually cancels it, the lender can't say to the guy, can't just take the money and not tell him, by the way, the halacha is that the loan is canceled because it's the end of Shemitah. Right? We learned in the Mishnah, when somebody pays back a debt by Shvius, he has to tell him, I give up on the debt. You don't have to pay it back. And if he says, even so, I want to pay it, then he's allowed to take it. This is the word of Shemitah. Yeah? So, meaning as long as you say something, then that's okay. Rav Avya shokal mashkaina. Rav Avya, right? Would you take a mashkin, like we said with the talis? And Rav Ravula mara merume. Rav Ravula would do a harama. He would do a shtick, right? Which is they're really essentially the same thing, right? I mean, because Rav Ravula wouldn't take it on Yom Tov. He would just take the what'd you call it, Aaron Kaplan? What'd you call it? Collateral, right? He would take the collateral after Yom Tov.
The mashkin, no?
Yeah, we take the mashkin, right? Okay, either way, both of them took a mashkin. One took it on Yom Tov, one took it after Yom Tov. Fine. The erev Pesach, right? So we said on erev Pesach that falls out on Shabbos, so you can make a deal and say you'll pay you to buy the animal on Shabbos, right? And then you have to shecht it, and then you make up after the Yom Tov exactly how much to pay. Some Rabbi Yochanan, mak the shodam pischa b'Shabbos. A person is allowed to make his current Pesach hekdesh on Shabbos and his chagiga on Yom Tov, right? Right? Meaning normally you're not allowed to make things hekdesh on Shabbos, but since you're allowed to shecht it on Shabbos, right? Because it's a special dispensation for when erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos, you're allowed to shecht it on Shabbos. So therefore you're allowed to make it hekdesh too. Let's say this is approved. Erev Pesach b'Yushalayim. Shechali is b'Shabbos. And erev Pesach in Yerushalayim that falls out on Shabbos, you leave your talis by the butcher, I guess. Right, and you make a cheshbon after Yom Tov. Right, so you see that seems like you're allowed. That's what you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. The Gemara says, no, that's not necessarily true. That's talking about where you had other people. Memana means you hired or you got together with others on your Pesach. They make hekdesh, which means that since you made up with other people that you're going to be part of Korban Pesach together, right? All Korban Pesach were done with chaburas. So since you arranged up this group to be involved in Korban Pesach before, so this is just looked at as a continuation. If you're not allowed to be counted into a group on Yom Tov, you have to do it every Yom Tov. Even the Rugel, that's like, no, since he is used to hanging out with his friends, so it's almost like he already had it in mind. But then the Gemara says, let's say a person go to a shepherd who he's used to hanging out with, meaning a friend of his. But nice and light, so he can give him a lamb for his Korban Pesach, and he can make it hekdesh, and then he'll be yotze with this, right? So you see clearly that you're allowed to make, even by yourself, you're allowed to make something hekdesh. So even the ruggle, that's like so since he's ruggled by him, since he's used to hanging around him, that's looked at like as if it was he made it hekdesh before Shabbos. And it didn't really happen on Shabbos. Oh, but Makdish Katani, it says he should make it hekdesh. How do you answer that? You can't. That doesn't sound like you made hekdesh erev Yom Tov, erev Shabbos, and it sounds like he made it actually on Shabbos. Hekdesh yilavi midrabanon, right? It's midrabanon, meaning the way he's doing it is it's to make it midrabanon into hekdesh, but really it was hekdesh from before that. Meaning you want to make it sound like it's more more chashivas to it. So the Gemara says, did Rabbi Yochanan say this? Mishna. Rabbi Yochanan, we know, we said this yesterday too in the daf, that Rabbi Yochanan holds halacha like a stam Mishna, v'tanan loy makdishim, v'loy marichim, v'loy machrimin, right? V'loy makbi and trumas and meisters, kol eila b'yomtiv. You're not allowed to make hekdesh, you're not allowed to do erechin. Erechin means if you want to donate the amount that you're worth to the Beis HaMikdash, you can't make things into cherem, right? So cherem is, he's basically saying that it's a form of hekdesh. Cherem is a form of hekdesh, right? It's just saying it becomes part of the Beis HaMikdash. V'lei makbiyin trumas and meises, you can't take trumas and meises. Kol eila b'yomtiv, amru kavachem b'Shabbos, and all these things are said on Yom Tov, and a kavachem b'Shabbos, right? So it's a stam Mishnah. So how could Rabbi Yochanan is clearly saying that Zakar Rabbi Yochanan be soister himself, because the Mishnah says you're not allowed to do it. And we said before, Rabbi Yochanan says you are allowed to do it. Like kasha kan b'chayv shekavu l'enzman, kan b'chayv shein kavu l'enzman. When it's a chayv that has a set time, so then you're allowed to, right? Like korban Pesach, you need to be makdish on erev Pesach. You can't do it any other time. Chayv shein kavu l'enzman. Let's say I decide I want to bring the korban. So that Rabbi Yochanan says that I can't do on Yom Tov. I can only do that from before Yom Tov. Okay, that's it for tonight. All right. A good vach.
Are there any more considerations regarding the siyum?
I don't know. I'm not on Peretz. That's up to Peretz and Aaron Kaplan are in charge of that.
All right, that was one of my questions.
What do you say?
Is there police activity going on near you?
By me?
Yeah.
No, why?
I don't know. It looks like there's red and white light flashing off your face.
Oh, you know why? Here, because
There it is. Yep.
There you go.
Gotcha. I was curious if we're allowed to bring wives to the siyum.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever the guys decide.
When are we doing it? Next Thursday night?
I don't know. Whatever the Olam should say. What's best for them?
I thought it was this Thursday night.
We're not finishing this Thursday.
Hold on. What are we up to? We're at.
When is it? Sunday?
Is the end.
I think it ends Shabbos.
Yeah.
Shabbos.
I don't know,
whatever the wants.
Maybe let's make a push and finish for this Thursday night.
Now what are we doing? Taking 2 days off? Oh, vacation?
Or those 2 days we could do hashkafa.
The truth is, if there's 2 days to take off, it will be a Friday and a Shabbos. Whatever, put it out on the chat and see what the Olam says. I'm fine. Thursday night, I'm fine with.
Well, didn't you said Thursday's better for you?
Thursday, it's either this Thursday. I thought the next Thursday, but whatever.
Right, I just mean in
general. A double siyum, no? It's very hard for me to come in.
For what?
This Thursday. I can't do this Thursday.
All right,
Marcha can't do this Thursday either.
Oh, perfect.
Is this considered a double siyum?
Yeah, we're gonna do broccoli.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Twice the meat, twice the bourbon.
There you go.
Where is the location?
Then Jesse, you need your wife to drive you there.
We're gonna do it by my house in Mitzvah.
I'll walk.
Yeah.
I'll ride the dog. It's okay.
We're gonna do it in my tent in Mitzvah. Baruch, we expect to see you all the way from Westchester.
I hope I can make it. Let me see. I can ask my wife.
Oh, come on. If I'm coming from Cleveland, you can make it from Westchester.
Well, it's Westchester. He's going to have to ask his wife.
I don't know if you want to know if Bubby's okay with it.